Trump doesn't give a shit that Pete Hegseth has a history of treating women like shit.
You can't say that you got her across the finish line just yet?
I would never speak for him.
Do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy.
And it's going to confirm all of a Republican president-elect's nominees.
Okay, so we have a major update as it pertains to Pete Hegseth's nomination for Secretary of Defense. It seems that Senator Joni Ernst has changed her tune. I wonder what happened, right? So this is being pushed all around social media. Joni Ernst confirmed she now supports Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. Make no mistake. You are the reason she did this, meaning people who obviously supported Pete Hegseth, the Navy SEALs that came out, was willing to march on Washington in support for him, and also Pete Hegseth himself, who refused to back down, by the way. She wants more wars and hates the MAGA movement, but we raised our voices and forced her to get in line or get the hell out of the Senate. Keep going. This is from DC Drano. Now, here's the actual statement from the senator. She put, I appreciate Pete Hegseth's responsiveness and respect for the process. Following our encouraging conversations, Pete committed to completing a full audit of the Pentagon and selecting a senior official who will uphold the roles and value of our servicemen and women based on quality and standards, not quotas, and who will prioritize and strengthen my work to prevent sexual assault within the ranks. As I support Pete through this process, I look forward to a fair hearing based on truth, not anonymous sources. Here's what Dan Bongino had to say about this. Here's a dirty little secret. Politicians like Senator Joni Ernst and others really hate social media. Now, why is that? It's because information and how it is being exchanged is now decentralized. No one's just depending on the legacy media anymore, right? You are the media, right? The X is the media at this point. And that is a game changer. They've always hated you, but stunts like blocking Pete Hegseth used to happen all the time without the ability for anybody to fight back. They hate it that we can tell everyone exactly what they're doing. And moreover, it's the fact that more people are aware and paying attention to what's going on here. So that information suggests that things probably are trending in the right direction for Pete. But here he is actually speaking to the press on Capitol Hill. Watch.
Feel confident leaving that room that she would support you?
It was a great meeting. It was a great meeting, and
will you have another one?
Whenever she wants. Yeah, but as of right now, it was a great meeting, and we look forward to sharing about it later on.
You can't say that you got her across the finish line just yet?
I would never speak for her.
Now that sounds like she is still not committed to Pete Hegseth whatsoever. However, listen to Senator Tom Cotton talk about Trump's nominations overall. And he talks about an interesting statistic that will probably make you more confident that Pete Hegseth is going to end up getting confirmed. Watch.
Pete Hegseth seems to have gotten momentum behind him, but you're in Washington. You talk to these senators. You go to lunch in the cafeteria together. So is he on track? Is he gaining momentum?
Brian, I expect a Republican Senate is going to confirm all of a Republican president-elect's nominees. I had a good meeting last week with Pete Hegseth and with Pam Bondi. I know many of these nominees. 2 Arkansans have been nominated as ambassadors: Marco Rubio, Kelly Loeffler. Doug Collins and I served together. In fact, if you go back 32 years to Bill Clinton's transition, there are only 2 nominees out of 72 cabinet secretary nominees in which senators of the president-elect's party voted against him. So no one should be surprised that a Republican Senate is going to confirm the Republican president-elect's cabinet secretaries.
Now, that is very interesting, right? Only 2 Republicans since the Bill Clinton administration ever voted against their own party's nominations. That is something else. Now, I don't believe we'll have a third on our hands. And if we did, remember, we're only 2 years out from the midterms. However, that's not going to stop the media from continuing to smear Pete Hegseth. Now, the new claim is that he has a drinking problem. And yes, Kristen Welker, when she sat down with President-elect Trump, she asked him about it. And here's what he said.
It looks like Pete is doing well now. I mean, people were a little bit concerned. He's a young guy with a tremendous track record, actually. He went to Princeton and went to Harvard. He was a good student at both. But he loves the military, and I think people are starting to see it. So we'll be working on his nomination along with a lot of others.
Since you bring him up, do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy. I've known him through Fox, but I've known him for a long time. And he's basically a military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is the military. He's a military guy.
Have you gotten assurances from senators that he's going to be confirmed? Do you think he can make it?
No. I think he will, yeah. I've had A lot of senators call me up saying he's fantastic.
You don't drink yourself.
No.
You've talked about how devastating drinking can be.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that the person who you picked for this top job at the Defense Department, at least according to those who've worked with him, has struggled with drinking?
But I've spoken to people that know him very well, and they say he does not have a drinking problem.
Now, clearly, Trump wants Pete Hegseth to be nominated, right? So he's going to go to bat for him. He's going to support him. So it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. Not really, in the grand scheme of things. I mean, if it was really that big of an issue, I mean, he would have already dropped out. It would have been the end of it by now, right? Now, that does not stop, like I stated, the media from continuing to push this. Now, here is CNN Jake Tapper doing what he does best, pushing misinformation.
What I'm saying is, when you're talking about drinking at 10 in the morning, that's a drinking problem. Now, it doesn't mean that there should be a stigma.
Then there's a lot of politicians that have a drinking problem, Jake.
Yes, of course. But I guess my question is...
Yeah, and then there's probably a lot of media that has a drinking problem too. And now I don't drink. I haven't tasted alcohol in many years, and never have drank at all in my life, really. And so I really don't understand that. But there's a lot of alcohol that flows through Washington, D.C. on a regular basis, and I wouldn't say that people are alcoholics or they have a drinking problem because of that. I don't see it at all. I don't see that being a problem, and I really wish that the media would move on and start focusing on what he can bring to the Secretary as Secretary of Defense. Because
okay, so at the heart of this issue is something that I feel is going to be the reason why the media dies off, okay? Instead of focusing on the merits and the substance of this nomination, they're focusing on assassinating Pete Hegseth's character. And people are done with that. And they just can't take any more because clearly for the last 8 years, that's all you guys have done with Trump.
And I think Pete's doing exactly what he needs to do. He's on Capitol Hill. He's speaking with senators. There's been absolutely no no's from Republican senators at this point. He continues to make his case, and his case is something that when he sits down with you, he's able to articulate very well. I think Pete will make an outstanding Secretary of Defense, and I believe that he's going through the process. Now, he has an uphill battle, but he's taken the fight straight to Capitol Hill like he should. He's going to have a hearing in Senate Armed Services. He'll have to answer 12 tough questions, and I believe he'll be able to answer every one of them. At the end of the day, I believe Pete will be our next Secretary of Defense, and he'll be perfect for the role. I mean, right now we've had Secretary Austin. Secretary Austin is a general in the Army. He has been a disaster. We have low morale. The only reason why we are even kind of close to having some type of recruiting numbers is because he's lowered the threshold, but we're nowhere near where we should be or where the previous threshold for recruitment should be, because people aren't wanting to fight for Secretary Austin. You have Pete, who is a combat veteran, 2 Bronze Stars. He was a major in the Army. He's been in the public sector. He'll go there and make the changes in the Defense Department that needs to take place. And I think he's exactly the one we need, which is why I believe he will get confirmed at the end of the day.
So that was Senator Mullen, and we appreciate his response and update on Pete Hegseth, because if we allow the media to dominate the narrative, a lot of people would just think this is going nowhere, right? So we have to continue to share the information and speak up about what's actually happening in the full story. Now, it's not just the media or Democrats that you have to worry about. It's also these never-Trumpers who continue to treat Trump's cabinet picks the same way that they would treat Trump, which is to personally attack these individuals. And here's an example of Joe Walsh being delusional about Pete Hegseth.
Trump doesn't give a shit that Pete Hegseth has a history of treating women like shit.
Right.
Because that's what Donald Trump has done. Trump doesn't care that he's an abuser and a harasser of women, because that's what Trump has been. So it's the drinking, I think, that Donald Trump has always considered to be a weakness. But we were talking earlier, Michael, I don't think Trump wants to take another hit. He lost Gates.
Right.
I don't think his ego wants him to lose another cabinet pick.
Hey, you just can't help but wonder, like, how do they get away with speaking that way live on air about another individual? I mean, that has to be defamation, of course, and maybe they are protected. I don't know. But clearly that is just very low, right? And we don't expect anything better. We know this is the way that they do business, and that's why they are going out of business, if that makes sense. But anyways, they're going to say what they got to say about Pete Hegseth regardless, okay? He's asking to be the Secretary of Defense, right? And you're not going to get that just handed to you, right? So you're going to earn that. And I expect Pete Hegseth to be successful in that endeavor. So my question for you that I'd like you to answer in the comments section, do you believe that Senator Joni Ernst actually supports Pete Hegseth? Do you believe this is all just smoke and mirrors, that she really doesn't? Maybe she's willing to vote no on him? Or do you believe that she thought she would get a lot of positive attention by rejecting and trying to sabotage his nomination, but only to find out that that wasn't the case, that people actually support Pete Hegseth? Let me know what your thoughts are so far about this updated news in the comments section below. Now, there was breaking news earlier today when the Daniel Penny verdict came down. He was acquitted of all charges. And of course, BLM was right outside, ready to speak their mind about it. Of course, they had a meltdown, and protesters actually erupted and started to get out of hand, where some were arrested. So if you guys want to see me react to that video and talk about that story, all you have to do is click on it, because it's coming up right now.